The 10th of May, 1940. World War II, the Netherlands. Nazi Germany invades Holland, and the German air forces, the Luftwaffe, use paratroopers in the capture of tactical points and to assist in the advance of ground troops across the country. The invasion is accompanied by heavy aerial bombardment of Rotterdam and culminates on the 14th of May with the destruction of its entire historic center. Because the Germans threatened to bomb the city of Utrecht in the same way, the following day the Dutch forces surrender. The same day, a fanatical Dutch nationalist is freed from prison by the Nazi occupiers. Seizing the moment, he throws himself into the machinery of the new regime with unwavering loyalty. He becomes one of the most powerful voices of Nazi propaganda in the Netherlands, first as editor of the regime's official publications, and soon as Secretary General of the Department of Public Information and the Arts. From this position, he works relentlessly to flood Dutch society with fascist ideology, silence dissent, and to glorify the Nazi cause. His name is Hermannus Reydon. Hermannus Reydon was born on the 6th of December 1896 in the town of Voorschoten in the Netherlands. He completed his studies in the city of Utrecht, receiving a law degree in 1923, and later married Wilhelmina Angenita Haag-Steenhart. Reydon was a convinced National Socialist who glorified the peasantry as the essential characteristic of the Germanic people. In the spring of 1932, he joined the National Socialist movement, the NSB, a Dutch counterpart to the German Nazi Party, receiving membership number 252. As of the 1st of February 1933, Reydon became the leader of the NSB district in Amsterdam. The NSB was founded on the 14th of December 1931 by Anton Mussert and Cornelis van Geelkerke. Modeled after the German Nazi Party, the NSB promoted authoritarian leadership, nationalism, and anti-communism. Initially, the party avoided open anti-Semitism to gain broader appeal, and in its early years, it managed to attract a modest following, especially among the middle class and former military officers disillusioned with the Dutch parliamentary system. By the mid-1930s, however, the NSB shifted further to the right, adopting the racial and anti-Semitic rhetoric of the Nazis. This change alienated many early supporters, but brought the party closer ideologically to its German counterpart. The NSB never became a mass movement in the Netherlands. In the 1935 elections, it won nearly 8% of the vote, its peak of popularity. By 1937, the party had already lost many sympathizers and received only 4% of the vote in the parliamentary elections, placing it firmly on the periphery of Dutch politics. Its increasingly radical views and alignment with the Third Reich made it unacceptable to most of Dutch society. Hermannus Reydon advanced the party's interests through journalism, and in 1933 he joined the team that prepared the first issue of the NSB's weekly periodical, Volk en Vaderland, meaning People and Fatherland, remaining on its board of editors through 1938. Before the 1937 general election, the NSB also established a daily newspaper titled Het Nationale Dagblad, or the National Daily. Reydon was its political editor by 1938, and later became its editor-in-chief. The Second World War started on the 1st of September 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. As the war escalated, Reydon was identified as one of the 21 most dangerous people to the Dutch state. Consequently, he was arrested by the Dutch government on the 3rd of May 1940 and held in a prison in the village of Oldgensplaat. His detention was brief, as Nazi Germany invaded the Netherlands the following week, and the Dutch government capitulated on the 14th of May. On the 15th of May, Reydon was released and returned to journalism. He continued as editor-in-chief of Het Nationale Dagblad until December 1940. While Reydon continued his work for the regime, Nazi control over the Netherlands deepened, and so too did the persecution of its Jewish population. On the 22nd and 23rd of February 1941, German forces raided the Jewish quarter in Amsterdam, arresting and deporting more than 400 Jewish men to the Buchenwald and Mauthausen concentration camps. The Dutch people's response was unique in Nazi-occupied Europe. On the 25th of February, they launched the February Strike, a two-day general strike to protest Nazi terror. German authorities brutally suppressed the action, and in its aftermath, Nazi policy hardened further. Both German and collaborating Dutch authorities began isolating Jews from the rest of the population. More than 15,000 were sent to forced labor camps. Others were concentrated in Amsterdam or deported to Westerbork transit camp in the northeast. Jews from provincial areas were sometimes sent to the Vught camp. Signs reading "Forbidden for Jews" appeared across Dutch cities, on cafes, swimming pools, sports fields, museums, libraries, and theaters. Jewish-owned businesses were confiscated, and personal valuables were seized. Then, on the 29th of April 1942, Jews were ordered to wear a yellow Star of David on their clothing. Anyone caught without it after the 5th of May was arrested and sent to Mauthausen, a sentence widely understood as a death sentence. The deportations began in July 1942. The last train from Westerbork to Auschwitz left on the 3rd of September 1944. As these policies of terror unfolded across the country, Reydon's role within the Nazi-aligned movement continued to grow. He became a member of the party's general, political, and propaganda councils. Reydon also led the NSB's theoretical education efforts and took charge of agricultural instruction through the Nederlandse Landstand, a Nazi-aligned farmers' organization. As a loyal ideologue, he played a central role in shaping the NSB's messaging and educational framework. On the 28th of January 1943, following a falling out between party leader Anton Mussert and Secretary General Toby Goedewaager, Reydon was appointed as Goedewaager's successor. He became Secretary General of the Department of Public Information and the Arts, and was also made President of the Nederlandse Cultuurkamer, the Nazi-controlled chamber of Dutch culture. He officially assumed both roles on the 1st of February 1943, gaining sweeping influence over arts, culture, and propaganda in the occupied Netherlands. However, Reydon did not hold these positions for long. Because of his pro-Nazi activities, the Dutch resistance made a decision to execute him. On the 9th of February 1943, Hermannus Reydon and his wife Wilhelmina were attacked in their home by members of the Dutch resistance group CS6. The assassin, neurologist Gerrit Willem Kastijn, had entered their house in advance and shot Wilhelmina dead. He then waited behind the front door. When Reydon returned home, Kastijn pressed the pistol into his back and fired at close range. Reydon was critically injured and never fully recovered. Though he officially remained Secretary General, his duties were taken over by Sebastian de Ranitz, a senior jurist within the department. NSB Deputy Chairman Cornelis van Geelkerke claimed that Wilhelmina had been killed by an intruder who waited for Reydon to return before ambushing him. The regime later confirmed that Reydon had suffered several gunshot wounds and had little chance of survival. On the 19th of February 1943, just 10 days after the attack, Kastijn was arrested during a raid at a cafe in the city of Delft. While being interrogated by the German security service in an interrogation room, while left alone he jumped, still handcuffed and attached to a chair from a third-story window. Upon landing, he fractured his skull and died a few hours later. Hermannus Reydon was 46 years old when he died of his injuries on the 24th of August 1943 in the city of Leiden in South Holland. 2 days later, a hall at the Department of Public Information and the Arts in The Hague was converted into a funeral parlor where his body was displayed for NSB members and Nazi officials. His funeral took place on the 28th of August 1943. and was attended by high-ranking figures including Anton Mussert, Reichskommissar Arthur Seyss-Inquart, SS leader Hans Albin Rauter, and Nazi propagandist Wilhelm Ritterbusch. After the ceremony, Reydon's body was transported by train to the village of Lunteren, where he was buried beside his wife, who had been interred there earlier that year. The attack on the Reydons, along with the assassination of General Hendrik Seyffert just days earlier, triggered a wave of brutal reprisals by the Nazi regime. Under the codename Operation Silbertanne, 3 Dutch civilians, often intellectuals or known opponents of the Nazi occupation, were executed for every German or Dutch Nazi killed. These extrajudicial killings were carried out by a special death squad led by Henk Veldmeer, made up largely of Dutch collaborators. In total, more than 50 Dutch citizens were murdered in retaliation. The Second World War in Europe ended on the 8th of May, 1945. During 5 years of Nazi occupation, the Germans and their Dutch collaborators deported around 107,000 Jews from the Netherlands, most to Auschwitz and Sobibor, where the overwhelming majority were murdered. But the trains did not run on tracks alone. They ran on words, in newspapers, speeches, and radio broadcasts. Men like Hermannus Reydon poisoned public discourse, glorified tyranny, and helped to create the conditions for mass murder. His voice may have fallen silent in 1943, but the consequences of his propaganda echoed all the way to the gas chambers.
Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.